I think that this is a huge game changer for Syria and the region in general. In many ways, we could see for the first time ever that the region is fully integrated economically. In some ways, we could see a potential where, of course, in the past we've seen the GCC, but maybe there's something akin to like a European Union for the broader Middle East now because of these changes. And hopefully it'll have positive effects on sort of the trajectory of the reforms going on in Lebanon as well, since historically, of course, Syria and Lebanon have been very close before, of course, the Assad regime. The U.S. had these eight asks, and to be honest, without even the U.S. asks, the new government in Damascus was already doing many of them. And I think that they were able to accomplish or make the U.S. comfortable with most of them in the responses that they gave recently. But there's also a credit definitely to countries like Turkey and Saudi Arabia who definitely pushed. But also within the United States, too, a lot of credit goes to the Syrian American community that has been lobbying ever since the fall of the regime to lift the sanctions. And so I think in many ways it's a team effort and showcases the importance of working together and how all this can be accomplished. And, could be a great model going forward for making Syria a stable country as well as prosperous country going forward, where the U.S., Turkey, Arab countries, as well as the diaspora community, it really could change things and build Syria back up to the place that I think most Syrians believe it should be. I think in many respects, now that the sanctions are lifted, it'll give more opportunities for U.S. Businesses to potentially invest in Syria. They won't be worried about getting in trouble over sanctions. And so, my understanding is that Damascus has always been much more interested in investments from the US than Russia or China. And so this could further this. The US has a ton of expertise in oil and gas, and therefore that can help out with the eastern part of Syria. But I imagine that there could also be exploration in the Mediterranean as well, as we've seen that there's been a number of discoveries off the coast in both Lebanon and Israel in recent years. And so, based off of all the new technologies that the US has been doing on this front, it could really be helpful there. Plus, just general, investment in reconstruction as well. I mean, you've seen a renaissance over the last 20 to 25 years in a lot of American cities in terms of, obviously it's kind of a dirty word in the US, gentrification, but it has helped renew many cities in the US, whereas before many people had previously been living in suburbs. And so you could see monumental changes to sort of maybe the urban planning and landscape of many Syrian cities that will hopefully be beneficial to, many people locally where, it's more pedestrian forward in some ways than car centric, and therefore I think would make a better quality of life for people in the end. I think that ever since Assad fled, it has reshaped sort of the regional landscape. The new government in Damascus, of course, because of the way Iran conducted itself alongside its Shia proxy network in Syria over the 14 years, is many ways shut out. And therefore, you do have stronger countries like Turkey, but also Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait's interested, Bahrain, even the Emirates. One of the biggest questions going forward is how Israel deals with this sort of change environment. Of course, thus far, it's been, maybe not the best way of going forward. But now that Trump has made this announcement, we could see that this could change things, especially since Israel has close relations with Saudi Arabia, and therefore that could potentially lead, at least in the beginning, to some form of a non-aggression pact between Syria and Israel. And then who knows what happens in the future? Obviously, some people have talked about Abraham Accords in the future. Hard to say, but at the very least, you know, I think that this could create a much more stable system where everybody benefits in the region going forward, and therefore, life goes back to normal, hopefully, for Syrians.